Before entering into the topic, I would like to quote Rabindranath Tagore, one of the eminent scholar of India, freedom fighter, and writer of the national anthem. What he said that when I slept at night, I saw a dream. जब मैं रात को सोया मुझे एक सपना आया. सपने में मैंने क्या देखा? What I have seen. I have seen that life is a service. When I walk, I found that the duty is the service. And when I go ahead, I have seen the real satisfaction is in the service. That's why, by quoting the observation of Rabindranath Tagore, the Nobel laureate, I can say that the democracy is a service of the people. That's why always Maitland said that in the democracy, there are only two wheels. One wheel is positive. Positive means the function of the government, and the another wheel is the opposition, which is called the basically of the breaker. That is the brake in a wheel, and that means the persons who are working in the system, that is the basic service of the people in a place where they are working. Thus, under the Constitution, when the Constitution was drafted, there was the first question relating to the matter of the democratic country. And the question was, what kind of democracy should be in India in future? Thus, the preamble reflects the basic idea about the democracy, republic democracy, sovereign democracy, and another aspect, we the people of India having slowly resolved to constitute the basically of the democratic country where there is a sovereignty, and that sovereignty lies on the people, because there was a debate, and it was the aspect at that time that the what will be the meaning of this democracy in India in future. And that ultimately the Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar had said that in future the people of India will be the supreme, and we have adopted this kind of the sovereignty in India. And a sovereignty, it is not like a sovereignty act propounded by John Austin in the year 1826. And the draft preamble of the Constitution, there are 85 words, if you will count, was drafted by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. That's why there was another question that what kind of justice we want to give to the citizen of free India. And there is a justice world. If one will see that the justice, first of all, the social justice. Second world is the economic justice. And third is the political justice. Political justice is at last. And then there was the next question, what kind of freedoms should be given? Freedom of belief, faith, expression, and all these are the position, or they have the say in the part third of the Constitution. That's why the preamble of Indian Constitution reflects the democracy, and the preamble reflects the basic and fundamental idea about the fundamental rights. Then there was the 8 days debate in the Constituent Assembly about the democracy. And in Indian democracy, it's not just like the democracy of the USA. Whereas, if you will see, there are the provisions in our Constitution relating to the Parliament, relating to the President, and a state legislature, as well as the governor. But there was the provision also in the 1935 Act, and most of the words and provisions borrowed by the constitution makers from the 1935 Act. And the once a question asked from by the debater from the a question was asked to the provisions of the parliamentary democracy, and the answer of that question was given by the Baba Sahib Bhimrao Ambedkar, that we have borrowed all the provisions from the Government of India Act 1935 except in place of the Governor General and except in place of the federal government. Here the union government, state government, parliament, state legislature, no comma, no full stop, and no word has been changed by our constitution makers, except the words federal, governor general, governor, and parliament, and all these things. It means the source of our democracy is the Government of India Act 1935. Now come to the another part. That part is the fundamental right. I will bring your notice before the constitution making system. That was the system of freedom movement in India. In various years, the demand made by the National Congress from the Britishers to give us the rights, and the draft was prepared by Motilal Nehru, and it is called the Nehru Committee, and that Motilal Nehru has submitted its report in 1927 to the Congress, Madras Adhivesan, and there was a document prepared by our freedom fighter, our leaders, to give the fundamental rights to the people of this country. And these fundamental rights, which says that every kind of the civil right should be given to the people of India, except to the provision of, there is rider, there is a provision, there are exceptions. If there is any question relating to the maintaining of law and order, decency, morality, defamation, and so on, there are at least 8 words under 19(2), and there the right to speak can be restricted. The point is that in national movement, our freedom fighters has raised their voice about the system of this country as well as the rights which requires to be given to the people of India. You might be aware that there was no right to be a member in the government services. In 1915, the charter was issued because of the movement of the leaders in India for getting the appointment in the public services. Now this is the provision under Article 16, you can see. And so far the due process of law is another controversial issue which has expanded by the Supreme Court, but there was the great debate in Constituent Assembly in the year 1948. What kind of words should be incorporated under the Constitution for strengthening the democracy in India? And earlier there was no provision that the due process clause was not there. Then when the draft committee had submitted its report to the National Congress, and the Britishers had not accepted the draft on the constitutional rights and known as the fundamental rights, then certainly the Britishers had appointed one commission which is known as the Simon Commission. And the Simon Commission's report was not accepted by the National Congress and asked to them, go back, Simon, go back. There was, and itself in 1931, the Congress in its meeting, it has adopted in the Madras, Lahore, in various places. And that is the basic history of the fundamental right. At that time, there was no democracy in India. And democracy is not the simple word as Abraham Lincoln defined, but Indian democracy is more than that. And for that purpose, there is another part which is called the directions to the government. This is known as DPSP, but this DPSP is a direction to the government. And the duty of the government is to provide every kind of facility to the people of India. And if there will not be such type of facility, the government will not be elected again by the people of India. That was the debate, or also the statement of the Ambedkar in the Constituent Assembly. That's why the only one part for strengthening the democracy cannot be considered by anyone. There are two parts. And the two parts, one is the duties of the government for the welfare of the people, and the welfare of the people is the paramount object of the democratic, vibrant government like India. This is called the vibrant democratic government in India because of our preamble, because of the various provisions as a civil and political rights incorporated under Part 3 of the Constitution. Thus, where one side in the beginning 1950, the Supreme Court has restricted itself to expand the provisions of the Part 3 in the interest of all the persons. But later on, that it has been expanded. It has been said in the 1978 and onward. And today, we are living in the technological era. In the technological era, there is a use of technology. In the democracy, where there is a use of democracy, there is the requirement of the use of internet. That's why the Supreme Court has recognized in the Bhasin's case that to use the internet is a fundamental right, and not just confining ourselves only on the right to sleep, right to speak, right to say something, right to pure water, right to environment, and the right to work, right to employment, right to get the remedy in case of the sickness and ill health. These are the rights which are written by our constitution makers. There was a great debate on that area, and this debate has accepted by the Constituent Assembly. And today, the ball is in the hand of the judiciary, especially the High Court and the Supreme Court. That's why there is one concept that the judiciary is the guardian of the Constitution, especially the guardian of the fundamental rights. Thus, the expansion by the judiciary in various aspects, including the right to privacy. We are just discussing now about the Manohar Lal Sharma's case, 3 days back case, which had direction was given by the Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramanna, about the privacy and the security of the state. One side, there is a Pegasus case. You may be very much aware about which is called the telephone taping case in the common sense. That's why the right to privacy, and another side, the transparency and the open government. These are the fundamental and basic component of the good governance. These are the basic principles of the good governance. And in democracy, unless there will not be the good governance, then one cannot say that this will be a government in a vibrant democracy in the interest of all the people, including the female and child, the weaker section, and the persons who are suffering the disability, which is called the disability. This is a government. This is the such type of democracy we have adopted. We have not adopted the democracy as it was existing in the USA. USA democracy was adopted by making the 7 articles in the USA Constitution. And there is also the preamble, but our preamble and the USA preamble is totally different. But in USA, there are limited provisions in the Constitution as such fundamental rights. There is no such type of provisions. And when these fundamental rights it was debated, and it has incorporated in the beginning before the 1949, 26 November 1949, there was the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights. There are the 30 articles, and most of the provisions has borrowed at that time by our constitution makers in the constituent draft document. And but after the long debate, it was felt in the Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji government to incorporate more rights in it, in the part 3rd. These are the right to marry. Now there is a controversy, one latest basically episode and the case we have heard and seen in the Haldwani just now. So there is the under Article 21, of course, life and liberty, so far this aspect which is related to the right to marry. But this provision is incorporated in the UDHR under Article 16 in a democratic country, that if both are the mature, both are the major, both have the right, and there shall not be any obstacle relating to the caste and so on. Thus the point is that they have the full right to enter into the family and to keep the family, to conceive and not to conceive. So therefore, one side, the political right is to cast the vote to contest the election. This is a democratic right. But another side, there is another coin of this fundamental right, says that there are the individual rights, there are the family rights, there are the rights of the privacy. And if you will see the Hitopdesh, Ayu Vittam Grachitram Matumathan Mosadi Manopamana cha Naum Gopyani Karyate. I have written in my book, that is the Human Rights, that privacy is a subject matter of confidentiality. And therefore, in the transparency also, RTI, if one will see, there is section 8. And according to the provision of section 8, no person can be compelled, that is the section 8, subclause 1J, J subclause J, the no person can be compelled to give the personal information. This is called the privacy. And privacy is the concept in the civilized society like India, because India is a developing country and everyone wants to live with the full dignity. And dignity is, what kind of dignity should be maintained by the government not to interfere into the personal life and into the other activities of the person unless it will not be create anything adverse to the society. It means there will not be any problem for maintaining law and order. The privacy shall be protected, and the Supreme Court is going to be debated just now. And the a committee is constituted by the government on the 27th October of this year 2021 on the protection and preservation of the privacy. That's why the civilization, right to privacy and right to expression, right to cast vote and right to contest the election, these are the democratic basic fundamentals, and these are also, according to the basic structure theory, the structure of our democratic country. These are the structure, these are the doors, these are the windows, and these are the roofs. And if this will be destroyed, and there will be the problem to strengthen the democracy, and a democracy which is a newly born child of the 70 years requires to be strengthened in the line of the requirement of the people of India. And secondly, this requirement should be correlated with the facilities which are available in the Indian democracy. Take one example. That example is right to health. Court has said in 1990, Subhash Kumar's case of Bihar, the right to health of the people is a right which can be accessed, which can be enjoyed by the people of India in a democratic country. But whether every person is getting this facility, right to health, and the right to health, the first state was 2010, the Assam, who was enacted the law, and there are the rules. So my point is that in a democracy, the The people of that country, especially the India, wants to get the every facility from the government. But this facility, whether in real sense, the Indian peoples as a citizen of this India are availing. That is because of the economic situation. And another side, in the employment, our popular government had amended the constitution, the economic benefit to the people who are living in the poverty line or who have no resources. That is the welcome step done by the democratic government, a popular government who want to uplift the every person. They may be the backward on the basis of the caste, region, and so on. But another side, the economy is one of the factors. And the economy, if the people will not get the basic facilities like that to get the employment in the public services, they will not come in the main state. In the another debate which is going on in India, that is the reservation for the female in the legislative assembly and parliament. Because as you know, in local bodies by 73-74 amendment, there is a provision for that. But in the Lok Sabha, latest Lok Sabha, there are the 78 female members. But it should be there, whereas there is more than 540 members. It should be the 50%, near about 270 and 78 highest female members are there in this Lok Sabha, which is existing at present. But there is an issue that the half of the population which is in democracy in India, how they can get their position in the political sphere or political area. This is the debate. And Geeta Mukherjee report is there of the 1995 on this issue, but this was not implemented so far. Very interestingly, our judge of the Supreme Court, Honorable Judge, Chief Justice of the India, Justice Ramanna, said that the 50% judges should be in judiciary. And for that purpose, it requires to amend the constitution. In Uttarakhand, you can say 30% females are there. And it is not the sufficient data, but there should be the judges in the higher judiciary. If it requires to strengthen the democracy, and that requires this aspect, then political rights relating to the detention, the security of the individual person, that should be there. And if it requires to maintain the security of the people in this way, in India, it requires also to consider the matter not only on the basis of Ramesh Thapar's case, but on the basis of the fair, just and reasonable law, due process of law. Very interestingly, I am quoting one another thing, that when the Article 21 was drafted and debated in the Constituent Assembly, there was the debate that whether there should be the word procedure established by law or the due process of law. And at that time, the advice was given to the person who was drafted it, Mr. Rao, to go to the America and to meet to the Justice Frankfurter, American judge, and ask to him that whether there should be the due process of law, which I have said the fair, just and reasonable. I have not cited the A.K. Gopalan and the Ramesh Thapar's case. I am citing the new dimension of the fundamental rights in the democracy after 1978. This is my contention. Then the Supreme Court judge, Frankfurter, he was the professor before becoming the judge of the Supreme Court of America, suggested that don't write the due process of law under Article 21, because it will create the problem for the judiciary as well as for the parliament, that is the legislature. And thus the matter was not accepted, and it was written that the procedure established by law, and this meaning was later on diverted by the Supreme Court by adopting from the back door, that is the window, and that window was to establish this due process of law. Then various issues are there, various solutions are there, history is also there, and the provisions in the other countries' constitution are there, international conventions are there, UDHR, Universal Declaration is also there, convention is 1966, that is the true convention on the civil and political rights and socio-economic rights and so on, cultural rights. But apart from this, the Supreme Court is very performing the very wonderful job for that purpose. And whenever there is a issue relating to the public utility, the only thing is that the public utility, the Supreme Court as a guardian of the democracy as well as the fundamental right of the constitutional law is interfering in the administrative function of the government. And I hope that in future also our judiciary will strengthen by propounding the fundamental principles of the democracy with reference to the fundamental rights, fundamental rights as well as the duties. Duties are also there. 11 duties, very wonderful duties are there. What are our duties? I was just stating that without the duty, there is no one have the enjoy the rights. That's why the Mahatma Gandhi theory, Hans Kelson's theory, Duguid's theory is also there. In 1976, the fundamental duty is incorporated in India. And this was complementary and complementary of the fundamental rights, not supplementary. So that's why the various issues relating to this part 4th and 3rd and this part 4th(a) of the Constitution and the democracy as well as, and relating to the election and the duty of the Election Commission, as well as the duty of the general people in India, that is the awareness, that is dedication to the strengthening the Indian democracy. That's why in preamble, if you will see the unity and the integrity of India, there is a word, the fraternity. And what kind of fraternity? There should be love and affection among the people of India. Not there should be any kind of the disputes relating to the supremacy of India. Supremacy is the core principle of our constitution. Supremacy. Everyone is under the law, and this is one of the concepts that democracy, if there is a democracy, there should be the rule of law. And without the rule of law, one cannot do anything. Not I am just citing the habeas corpus case of 1975, 77, and so on. But my argument is that the supremacy of India is supreme. And our duty is to abide by the law, to follow the principle of the Constitution, to go ahead for the betterment of this people of this country, and that should also be followed by the popular government, that is the elected government in the democracy like India. That's why at last I will cite the character as a duty of the people. Vrittam yatnet sanrakshet vittmeti yati cha akshino vitatah chino vittahastu hatoata. This is the ideal principle written in the Kuber Niti. That's why I am just closing my this program and stopping my voice because I was busy in some another meeting. But in between, I got the time, and thanks to the organizer, thanks to the director of this college, and thanks to other persons who are participating as either the resource person or as a participant. Thank you very much. Okay, now mic is over you, please. Abhimanyu.
Sir, I am Sandeep, and
yes,
sir, we are very honored to have sir. And there are few questions that are been put up by our student, and I would like to
yes,
Can we ask? Can we please ask the
Yeah,
question?
yeah,
sir?
you may ask. You
If
may
you
ask.
permit, sir.
Yes, yes, you may ask.
Sir, my first question that is being asked by Rahul Joshi, and the question is, what if there is a clash between fundamental right and fundamental duty?
Yeah. Yes. In case of the fundamental rights and fundamental duty, in case of there will be the conflict, there will be some dispute in between two. The approach of the Supreme Court is to reconcile both. And the fundamental duties are the, basically it is called the morality, because these duties cannot be enforced along before the code of law. And these duties can be correlated with the fundamental rights. That's why there will not be any kind of the conflict in between the duties and the fundamental rights. And only because of the fundamental duties, one cannot approach to the court, because it is under this part 4. That's why whenever the one line answer, whenever there will be any conflict in between the fundamental right and fundamental duties, the duty of the court is to reconcile, to apply the golden principle of the interpretation. That's why there will not be any question of the conflict, because it is not justiciable. The fundamental duties are not justiciable. It cannot be challenged without the help of the fundamental rights. Yes, please. Another question?
Sir, there is another student and he asked a question. Sir, can we say that as we know that the Supreme Court is and you rightly said that Supreme Court is the custodian of the fundamental right. So can we say that the executive and the legislature is also having some kind of duty to strengthen the democracy further? Sir, can we say?
Yes. Yes, we can say, if you will see the Article 13 of the Part 3 of the Constitution, there is the duty of the legislature as well as the executive, because they cannot, the legislature and the executive cannot function anything unless they will not enact any law, they will not frame any rule. That's why if anything shall be made by the executive by making the rules, that if that will be inconsistence of the part 3, that will be declared by the Supreme Court null and void. Number 1, the duty of the executive. They cannot do it. Number 2, that the legislature have no power to abrogate and to make any law inconsistent to the fundamental rights. That's why the constitutional duty of the legislature as well as the executive is not to make any law in form of legislation and in form of any rule. That's why duty indirectly is prescribed under Article 13, because in a democracy where there is the rule of law, the executive and the legislature cannot do anything without making any law. That's why their duty is prescribed under Article 13 of the Constitution. In itself means under Part 3 as a fundamental right. Okay.
Definitely, sir. Sir, with this question, we are very delighted and we are deeply honored to have you, sir, in this webinar. And we are very much honored to have. We pray for your healthy life and
thank you very much. Thank you.
And we hope forward that we are going to invite further for the other topics and the webinars and the seminars, sir. Definitely, we are very much thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks to all.